It was a quiet Thursday evening in early spring, when the sky was painted in hues of gold and lavender, and the world seemed to be exhaling after a long winter. I had just returned home from work, slipped into my favorite oversized sweater, and was settling into the couch with a book I had been meaning to finish for weeks. My small apartment was filled with the scent of vanilla from a candle flickering on the windowsill, and soft jazz played from the old record player I had inherited from my grandfather. The knock came at precisely 7:43 p.m. 3 slow, deliberate raps on the front door. I paused, unsure if I had imagined it. My phone hadn't buzzed with a message, and I certainly wasn't expecting any visitors. Cautiously, I set my book down and walked to the door. Through the peephole, I saw him. A man, tall and lean, with dark, slightly wavy hair and a navy coat that looked expensive, but travel-worn. His hands were tucked into his pockets, and he seemed completely at ease, as though he had every right to be there. When he noticed the slight movement from behind the door, he looked up directly into the peephole and smiled. That smile unnerved me. It wasn't threatening, far from it. It was warm, familiar even. But I had no memory of ever meeting this man. Still, something inside me stirred, something I couldn't quite name. I opened the door, but left the chain on. "Can I help you?" I asked, trying to sound firmer than I felt. "I hope so," he replied, his voice deep and tinged with a foreign accent I couldn't place. "I know this is strange, but I came here for you." My heart skipped. "Excuse me? My name is Elias. I know we haven't met, not really, but I have a photograph that might help explain. May I show you?" Against my better judgment, I nodded and kept the chain fastened as he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a weathered envelope. Inside was a photograph, aged, edges curled. He slid it through the gap in the door. I took it. My breath caught. It was a picture of me, sitting on a park bench in spring, wearing a dress I never owned, beside a man who looked exactly like Elias. We were laughing, hands intertwined. The background was blurry, but I recognized the old clock tower from a neighboring city, a place I hadn't visited in years. I looked up. "Where did you get this?" "From a memory. One you haven't made yet." Chapter 2. The Guest. I should have slammed the door shut, called the police, told him to leave. Instead, I undid the chain. Elias stepped in slowly, respectfully, as though he understood the surreal nature of the moment and didn't want to break it. He looked around the apartment and smiled, like he'd been here before. "You haven't changed much," he said softly. "You keep saying things like that. I don't understand." He sat down on the edge of the couch only when I motioned for him to. I stayed standing, arms crossed. "I'm not crazy," he said. "And I'm not here to hurt you. I need you to believe that first. You're a stranger with a picture of me from some alternate timeline or whatever, and you just show up at my door talking about destiny? What do you expect me to think?" He nodded slowly. "I expected this. I remembered it this way. That you would doubt me." "Remembered?" He took a deep breath. "I'm from the future. At least, a version of it. Where we meet, we fall in love. You save me in more ways than I can explain. But something happened, a rift. I was given the chance to come back and find you again. This is that chance." I blinked. I had officially stepped into the plot of a science fiction romance. "And what happens if I don't believe you?" He looked at me, his eyes dark and filled with an emotion I couldn't decipher. "Then I go back, and everything we built together disappears." Chapter 3. A Night of Questions. We talked until dawn. I brewed tea. He told me stories of things that hadn't happened. The day we met in that future, at a bookstore. Our trip to the lake. The time I danced in the rain, and he watched like it was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. He remembered everything in vivid detail. The way I liked my coffee. The song I sang in the kitchen when I thought no one was listening. My fear of thunderstorms. And he answered every question with care, never rushing, never pushing. By morning, I didn't know what to believe. But I knew one thing. I didn't want him to leave. Chapter 4. The Life We Almost Had. The days that followed were like pages out of a novel. Elias stayed, sleeping on the couch at first, then slowly becoming a presence I couldn't imagine the apartment without. He helped fix the leaky sink I had ignored for months. Cooked meals with flavors I had never tasted but somehow loved. He wrote poems in the mornings and read them to me in the evenings. We laughed. A lot. And then one night, as the rain poured outside and lightning etched silver veins across the sky, he kissed me. It wasn't electric. It wasn't fireworks. It was familiar, like coming home. Chapter 5. The Choice. But reality has a cruel way of returning. One morning, Elias woke up with a strange look in his eyes. "It's time," he said. "Time for what?" "For me to go." I shook my head. "No. You said we were supposed to be together." In one version of time, we were. But this one? It was borrowed. He handed me a notebook, filled with his handwriting. Our story. From his first arrival to the night we first made love. Everything. "When you read this," he said, "you'll remember. Not with your mind. With your heart. And maybe, one day, if the universe is kind, we'll find each other again." And just like that, he was gone. Epilogue. The photograph. Years passed. I never married. Never forgot. I traveled to the park from the photo once. Sat on the same bench. Waited. He never came. Not in the way he had before. But sometimes, when the wind rustles the trees just right, and the golden hour light bathes the world in magic, I swear I hear 3 soft knocks at the door. And I smile. Because once upon a time, a stranger came to my home for romance. And changed everything.